Chapter 32. The next hour was sheer chaos. Additional police cars arrived on the scene, just moments after the first drenched and dripping officers smashed into Carlene's trailer. Investigators poured through the house, as well as through the Heartland Bible Supply bus. As the rain stopped and the skies cleared, nosy neighbors, all home and glad for some real-life entertainment in the midst of their quiet Sunday afternoon, spilled into the street to watch the storm blow over and the drama unfold. Someone took away Carlene's broom, and all three adults, Lester, Lil, and Carlene, were taken outside to talk to the officers. A child welfare caseworker, a middle-aged woman wearing gray slacks and flat shoes, stood over us kids protectively. People kept talking all around, but the voices were all outside of my head, so I could tune them out. I could turn them off and just concentrate on Samson. Bobby, Will, and Fish were all seated next to one another on Carlene's sofa. Bobby slouched back against the cushions, doing her best impression of a bored teenager, popping and snapping a new length of chewing gum, obviously annoying the caseworker, while Will watched the comings and goings of all the officers intently. Fish looked pale. His storm had settled down as soon as we'd found Samson, but trying to scumble it had left him weary and worn out. Samson and I sat on the floor in front of the others, leaning against the front of the sofa. Samson's ink-covered hand rested in mine. He was still clinging tightly to his ballpoint pen. Every now and then, I'd catch a word or phrase amidst the jumble of his thoughts, but as nonsensical and sweet-toned as it all was, his voices soon settled into a soothing background melody. Soon, paramedics joined the crowd, offering us blankets and water and checking each of us over, asking a lot of questions, and photographing Will's black eye and Fish's scratched face. We tried to explain again and again what had happened, as people jotted notes into notepads. I tried to tell the officers and the caseworkers and the paramedics that it was all my fault that we'd run away. I tried to tell them how terribly important it was that we get to Papa soon. All those precious minutes ticking by were minutes with him we were wasting. I'm responsible, I repeated in exasperation. It was my idea to go down to Selena, my idea to sneak onto the bus. It was even my idea to trick Lou into thinking we'd call home. We'd called home, I said. The adults listened in their adult way and nodded and aha'd, but I never really felt convinced that any of them believed me. And I hadn't even mentioned my savvy. I was afraid that things were going downhill fast for Lester and Lil, and I felt sick to my stomach with worry for them, and ashamed about our lies and deception. I hadn't done a very good job of taking care of them. The future didn't look so bright for Carlene either. What with her locking Samson into her storage space and all, but I didn't trouble myself as much with her. She was just a nasty, rotten apple. Do you know anything about our papa? I asked the caseworker in the gray slacks, hoping that she might know something. Will we get to see him soon? But the woman just offered us a sorry, practiced smile and shook her head. No matter what or who I asked, all I heard was, "We don't know yet," or "That's being, sorted out," or worse, "Please just sit quietly and let the officers do their job." The hubble-bubble was far from over. Kansas State troopers began to arrive, adding 2 additional vehicles to the already jammed-up and puddled street outside. From where I sat, I could see them through the busted-down door. I was beginning to think that we were never going to make it to Selena. It looked more and more like arrangements were being made for Pastor Meeks and Miss Rosemary to come and pick us all up in Manhattan to take us back with them to Hebron. I couldn't let that happen. We'd come too far to go home now. One of the troopers got out of his shiny silver car in a hurry, not even bothering to put on his funny, dented hat. He raced up the short walk toward the trailer. His dark hair was clipped, ship-shaped short, and his young face was pulled tight with misgiving. The officer looked familiar. I recognized him as just an older, more shaved and muscled version of Will Jr. This man must be Will and Bobby's brother, Bill. I've never seen such a look of relief on anyone as I saw them when Bill found us all sitting in the living room safe and sound. "Bill!" shouted Bobby, jumping up with Will as soon as they saw the man coming. Bobby rushed forward to wrap her arms around her older brother's chest. Will stood back, a bit self-consciously. "You okay, Roberta?" asked Bill. "Yeah, I'm fine," she answered, letting go and stepping back. As soon as Bill released Bobby, he grabbed Will to him in a big bear hug. It looked as though he wasn't ever planning on letting go. He held on and on. "What were you thinking, kid?" I heard Bill whisper affectionately. "Were you looking for trouble like your old man used to get into? Don't try to be like me, Will. You're too smart for that." It took me a moment to adjust my understanding of things. It appeared that I might have been wrong, in believing that Will Jr. was Bobby's brother. Will had a secret. Now I knew his secret. It occurred to me that Bill must have been mighty young when Will was born. I could just picture Miss Rosemary, with her need to make all things spick and span in apple pie, taking over the raising of her own grandson. At least it finally made Will Jr. make some sense. When Bill finally let go of his son, the man was wiping tears from his eyes, struggling to regain his state trooper composure, and I saw my chance to finally tell my story to someone who might listen. "Officer Meeks? Mr. Bill, sir?" I had no idea of the right thing to call this man, but as he turned his attention to me, I struggled on, knowing that I had to stand up tall for Lil and Lester, stand up tall and pull them out of the stew I'd put them in. "Sir, you've just got to believe me. This is all my fault. I just wanted to see my papa." And with that, I burst into tears.